What's up, NFL fans, Super Bowl fans? What's up, all sports fans? This your boy JB, host of the Behind the Bench podcast network channel, giving a shout out to the rest of the crew. Shad, Kelvin, Jermaine, KB Film Room, Big Dog Talk Sports. That's right, that's right. For everyone who's tuning in, thank you for supporting Behind the Bench. Subscribe to the channel, help make the show the best that it can be. Now, let's talk a little history. Let's talk a little football history. First thing first is that in professional sports, professional team sports, as they say, it's very difficult to win a championship. It's almost impossible to repeat as champions, but it darn near takes a miracle to win 3 straight. That's what they say about it. And that's what we found out last night in Super Bowl 59 as the Kansas City Chiefs were attempting to enter the game with a record of 17-2, and they were attempting to become the first team in the Super Bowl era to win 3 straight championships. And they tried to make a valiant effort all year, man, and they fell short and they lost to the newly crowned champion Philadelphia Eagles, man. That defense was, they unleashed the hounds, man. The birds was flying last night. And, you got to give credit to it, man, and they ran the football with Saquon Barkley, 25 carries, and they wore down Kansas City's defense in the process, and they are the new champions, man. But it's very hard to win 3 straight. That's the first thing. A lot of great teams, all-time great teams, have done that, have not been able to do it. The Steel Curtain Pittsburgh Steelers, the San Francisco 49ers of the 80s, the Dallas Cowboys of the 90s, and the New England Patriots of the 2000s. It's very, very hard to do. And the Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos also went back-to-back in 98 and 99, 1998, 99, when Terrell Davis was their running back, And it's been a lot of great teams, man, and it's very, very difficult to do. The last team to win 3 straight NFL championships were the Green Bay Packers, where they won Vince Lombardi, who that Super Bowl trophy is named after. The legendary Vince Lombardi, head coach of the Green Bay Packers, led them to the championship, I believe, in 1965. And then when the Super Bowl started in 1966, they won the first 2 Super Bowls. They beat the Oakland Raiders and the Kansas City Chiefs. So they were the last team to win 3 straight championships. But I just want to say, man, from a historical standpoint, this is why it's important to, and don't get me wrong, man. Everybody has their favorites. Everybody has their biases. I get that. That's not a problem, man. But the issue is when there's a quarterback out there that has set the standard, you have to go look at that, man. You have to look at that. And it's not about eras, man. It's not about bigger, stronger, faster. It's about what you do when you play. It's about what you do. Because the standard is going to supersede errors. This is where the comparisons come into play. And when it comes to the Super Bowl, it's been a lot of quarterbacks that won multiple Super Bowls. There's been a lot of quarterbacks that have done it, man. And this is how, me personally, when you start talking about the greatest ever to do it at a position, especially in football, I don't like to say who's the greatest football player ever. I don't like to do that because there's multiple positions. You have an offensive team and a defensive team. I like to go by, if you're going to say who's the greatest, it should be by position. It ain't about in totality. That's just me. But the thing about this, man, is that Tom Brady, for the past, let's say, the last 8 years of his career at the least, he was viewed as the greatest quarterback ever, right? Okay, check this out. Now, he's been retired for 2 years. And they was already trying to supplant him with Patrick Mahomes as the greatest quarterback. Now, Mahomes is a great quarterback. No doubt about it. He's won multiple Super Bowls. But the problem is, man, he's lost his second Super Bowl. And the 2 Super Bowls that he lost, he did not look good. And he was a primary reason why they lost, because he threw multiple interceptions in both games. You see what I'm saying? And last night he threw one that resulted in a pick 6, and threw another one deep in his own in the Chiefs' own territory. So what I'm saying is, man, I remember leading into Super Bowl 48. This was the Denver Broncos facing the Legion of Boom, Seattle Seahawks. And Peyton Manning, who had just was completing his second year with the Broncos. And he had a tremendous season, man. He broke all them single season passing records. He threw for like 5,500 yards, 55 touchdowns. You know, it's complete. I think he threw that darn near 70% completion percentage and all that stuff, man. But I remember Peyton Manning said something after the last regular season game. I believe they played the San Diego Chargers at Mile High, when you know, it was still called Mile High Stadium or Synergy Field, one of the two. I think it was Synergy Field, not Mile High Stadium. And right after that last regular season game, he said, "I would not have been able to do this if it wasn't for the new rule changes." He said that. I'll never forget that. He said after that game, "I would not be able to do this if it wasn't for the rule changes." Now, mind you, Peyton Manning is an all-time great quarterback. You know, a lot of people say he won like, 5 MVPs, something like that, 5 MVPs. A lot of people say he's the greatest regular season quarterback. Tremendous quarterback, man. Tremendous quarterback. Entertaining, man. You know, very affable, funny, witty. But he went in that Super Bowl, man, and they got mauled. But going into that game, now mind you, he had that one Super Bowl where they, at the time he was quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts, and they beat the Chicago Bears, and Lovie Smith is head coach, and they beat them something like 29-17. So he had one Super Bowl. And based off the season that he had for the Broncos and the statistical production, they said, man, if he win the Super Bowl against Seattle, he's going to be the greatest quarterback ever. I said, whoa. And I was a fan of Peyton Manning. I'm like, but okay, he only got one Super Bowl. There's a ton of quarterbacks out there that got multiple Super Bowls. You see what I'm saying? John Elway retired his last 2 seasons winning the Super Bowl back to back. And he retired. He went out on top after losing his first 3 Super Bowls, and mainly during the 1980s. And that talk stopped after Seattle, and you could tell that game was over after the first play. The second play resulted in a safety, and you knew that game was over already. And the Broncos, where Russell Wilson was the quarterback, and all he had to do in that game was don't turn the ball over. The defense won that game, 43-8. They beat them 43-8. So that talk stopped. So now I want everybody to think about this, man. The way Mahomes, like I said, Mahomes is a great quarterback, man. He'll go down as one of the all-time greatest players. But in the biggest games, man, on 2 different occasions, man, he did not play well. And then and there was another one. I think that was the first game against his first Super Bowl against the 49ers, where they came back and beat them. He threw 2 interceptions in that game. Okay. So if they talking about replacing Tom Brady 2 years after he retired, when they said for the last 7 years of Brady's career that he was the greatest quarterback, then you have to look at it and say, well, maybe Tom Brady's not the greatest quarterback. Right? Okay. So what I'm getting at is, man, when you look at history, And it's not about errors, man. It's not about holding on to the past. It's about the standard that's set, man. And if someone set the standard, let's say in this decade, the next decade, if someone set the standard, man, well, you know, man, that dude, man, I can't not deny it. I can't deny it. He's the greatest quarterback ever. Then it is what it is. Okay. When you go back in history, in the biggest game in football, the biggest sporting event there is, Super Sunday, right? It's the biggest sporting event there is. More people tune in to watch the Super Bowl than any sporting event. No quarterback has played as great, as brilliant, as flawless, as dominating as Joe Montana, man. Joe Montana. Now remember, not until Brady surpassed Montana in Super Bowls was Brady considered the greater quarterback. Not until then. Right? Which that is a fair criteria. But if you look at it, this is where you got to break stuff down. Now, for me, if people want to say Tom Brady is top 3 all time, his resume would be deserving of that, no doubt about it. If they want to say he number 2, okay. But the greatest, if you look at it, this is where you got to pull back all the layers. Like I said, Tom Brady, you know, man, he got the most out of his ability. He was drafted in the second round, and he was a leader of the New England Patriots, man. And when he took over that starting quarterback position, he never relinquished it. But if you look at it, the first 2 Super Bowls, the first 3 Super Bowl victories, and like I said, Brady, he played great, but it came down to Adam Vinatieri and the field goals. It came down to Adam Vinatieri and the field goals. Then Brady lost his next 2 Super Bowls to the same opponent, the same quarterback, Eli Manning. Eli Manning beat him twice in the Super Bowls. So from the time Brady won his 3rd Super Bowl against the Philadelphia Eagles and Donovan McNabb, that's the game where T.O. came back from that broken ankle and played the game of his life in the Super Bowl. But the Patriots beat them. Brady didn't win his 4th Super Bowl until 10 years out. Until 10 years out. That's a long time. Right? Now he was 3-0, lost 2 Super Bowls to the same quarterback, and then win his next one until 10 years out. And that was against the Seattle Seahawks. And we all know how that game ended up. All Seattle had to do was hand the ball off to the best running back on the planet, beast mode, Marshawn Lynch. That's all they had to do was hand the ball to him, and they Super Bowl champions. And then the Atlanta Falcons the next year, up 28-3. How do you lose a game 28-3? And even during the game when they was calling the game, he says it's mathematically impossible to lose Super Bowl in the 3rd quarter of 28-3. He said it's mathematically impossible. And then Brady did win 2 more Super Bowls. And then he lost to the Philadelphia Eagles and Nick Foles. And then he won his last Super Bowl, New England versus the Rams, in a very low scoring game. I think the score they gave was something like 13-3, something like that. And really the defense won that Super Bowl. And then Tampa Bay Buccaneers against Patrick Mahomes. And I get it, man. I get it if his fans want to say he the greatest. I get that because he got 7 Super Bowls. But then you got to put this in the context too. This is where you got to. This is not because the NFL, man, is the greatest football league in the world, and we all know the nature of the sport and how demanding physically it is. I get that, but beginning in the 2010s, they really started to emphasize protecting the quarterback. And that's when you start seeing these quarterbacks, man, throw for these astronomical numbers, man. And I'm not just talking about one quarterback, I'm talking about a plethora of them. You saw average quarterbacks, or let's say good quarterbacks, looking like great quarterbacks. You see what I'm saying? Then you start seeing great quarterbacks looking like, what I mean by great quarterbacks, I'm talking about like quarterbacks who can consistently lead their team to the playoffs. Start looking like all pros. You know what I'm saying? Throwing for 5,000 yards, man. I mean, with ease. You see what I'm saying? And you can tell it, like I said, go, if anybody, they can, try to pull the footage up on YouTube or whatnot. When the Broncos played their last game against the Chargers and they came back and won that game, Peyton Manning said after that game, I wouldn't be able to do this if it weren't for the rule changes. He not talking about not being great. He talking about the production, throwing for 5,500 yards and 55 touchdowns. That's what I'm talking about. So, I know this is kind of lengthy. I'm just trying to break this down. Joe Montana lost essentially 4 to 5 years of his career due to suffering bone-crushing hits that led to long-standing injuries. Like when the 49ers were going for the three-peat with Montana, right? And they played that epic NFC Championship game versus New York Giants in 1990. I'm telling you, that's the most physical football game I've ever seen. And all my years of watching this sport, man, there's been a lot of great games, man, a lot of great rivalries. That game right there, man, that was a Super Bowl within a Super Bowl before the Super Bowl. The tackling was textbook, man. It wasn't no dirty hits, nothing like that. And all-time great receivers, man, like Jerry Rice, the greatest receiver in NFL history. He wasn't even going across the middle on that day, man. You see, it wasn't really no protecting nobody out there, man. And what I mean by that, as far as trying to the reason that they started to emphasize protecting the quarterback, because ultimately they wanted to boost offense. Defenders couldn't chuck at the line like they used to. You know what I'm saying? They eliminated that for the most part. Although they're allowing it to come back a little bit because, there weren't as many high scoring games over the past couple years, which is good, man, which is good. So what I'm saying is, man, Montana, if you go back and look at that game and you look at that hit by Leonard Marshall, man, and what's crazy is it was a legal hit. It wasn't dirty. He literally, like Joe Montana said, he said, I almost felt, man, I was done, that I wasn't gonna make it past today. He got hit so hard, man, he suffered like broken ribs, elbow crack, spleen, whatever you want to call it, back. He was out. He missed 2 years of action off that one hit. 2 years. And never really regained his starting position back because by that time, Steve Young took over and he was a great quarterback in his own right. But Montana was a little better. Montana was better. Okay, and then in 86, in a divisional game versus the same New York Giants, he got walloped by Jim Burke and lost a season and a half. And then like in 83, 84, he suffered another bone jarring injury where he missed significant time. Joe Montana used to get rocked, and he was a great scrambler. It wasn't like he was just considered what they consider a pocket passer. He was a great scrambler, man. It's just that the defenses, man, it was so intense to where when they zone in on the quarterback, man, they got you. And then back then, when the offensive player ran out of bounds, you can still get tackled. Now, as soon as you out of bounds, the defense has to let up. Well, back then, when you run out of bounds, the momentum from the play, you gonna get hit. And there's multiple tacklers coming at you. So I'm saying you had to take all these things into consideration. So in 4 Super Bowls, Joe Montana has the greatest quarterback ranking of all time. Like, I think it's like 127 or 128, something like that. Well, I think it's 128.5. Like Tom Brady, man, like I said, man, brilliant quarterback, man. All-time great, man. His quarterback rating is around like 97. After Patrick Mahomes last night, man, it may be like, I'm talking about like, I ain't talking about like in the fourth quarter, man, he was just putting them numbers. You know, the game was already out of hand. But I'm talking about when the game was in balance, man, at one point his quarterback ranking was like a 10. So his quarterback ranking is taking a dip. And I think going into last night's game, it was like an 85. So what I'm saying, he's a great quarterback, man. He's going to be an all-time great. When you start talking about the greatest ever, you got to look at everything. And this is where, like, the talking heads, man, it's like they immediately want to take someone and say they're the GOAT. Well, you got to look at everything, man. You got to look at everything. And Montana, then you got to look at who he beat. Montana beat John Elway, right? John Elway, who actually, the truth be told, a lot of those years, man, he was viewed as the greatest quarterback. I mean, in turn, like throughout the course of let's just say, because of his tremendous athletic ability that John Elway had, his tremendous scrambling ability, you know, that he was often viewed as possibly the greatest quarterback. But when it came to money time, man, wasn't no question who was the greatest quarterback. And that's really when it counts, man. When it's money time, when the pressure is on, man, when everybody's watching. So he beat John Elway, who's considered a top 7 quarterback, especially after he went out on top winning 2 straight Super Bowls. He considered a top 7 quarterback. And then he beat Dan Marino. Well, when Dan Marino retired, he held all the passing records. Passing yards, touchdowns, completions, all that stuff. He was the first quarterback to throw for 5,000 yards in his second year. You see what I'm saying? He beat Marino and beat him handily. Then Montana, the games versus that he beat Elway and Marino were blowouts. His first Super Bowl was against Ken Anderson, a quarterback of the Cincinnati Bengals, who was a Hall of Famer. And then the Super Bowl versus the Bengals and Boomer Esiason. Boomer Esiason was league NFL MVP that year. He beat Esiason in a great, awesome Super Bowl that came out to a comeback 90-some yard. I think it was like a 92-yard drive where he threw that pass to John Taylor across the middle. And you knew they was gonna win. You knew he was even the coach Sam White. It was coaching the Bengals at that time. He said, "Man, we gave him 30. We gave him 2 minutes too long. Like we were 30 seconds away." That's what I'm saying, man. Like what I'm saying is, man, when Joe Montana got out there, man, and it all kicked off, man, with that NFC Championship game against the Dallas Cowboys in '81, when he engineered that drive where he threw that touchdown pass to Dwight Clark in the end zone, which they dubbed the catch. And that's what started the dynasty in Frisco, man. So what I'm saying is, man, in the big games, man, it just felt like he wasn't gonna get beat, man. No matter what and he faced great defenses. And I'm gonna end it with this, man. The greatest single game Super Bowl performance. Now Phil Simms, the quarterback of the Giants, for a single Super Bowl, I think he completed like 20-some straight passes in a row. He had the greatest like quarterback ranking for a single Super Bowl when he led the Giants in the '80s to their first Super Bowl championship. You see what I'm saying? But as far as in totality, what Joe Montana did, I think that was Super Bowl 24 against the Denver Broncos, when they had a number 1 ranked defense, man. They had the number 1 ranked defense, and Joe Montana destroyed that team, dog. He destroyed them, man. And it'd take a whole lot of passes. See, that's the thing. He got out there, man. It was like 2-3 different times, man. 1 pass, touchdown. 1 pass, touchdown. Precision, dog. He destroyed that defense, dog. And they wound up beating the Denver Broncos 55-10, which is still to this day the greatest margin of victory and point total in Super Bowl history, man. And it was like Dan Reeves, the coach of the Broncos at that time, man, he just looked like, God dang it, man. It's like they didn't know what to say. And then right before that game ended, the 49ers on the sideline, they was talking about three-peat. Roger Craig, I remember Roger Craig, the running back for the 49ers, he's like, three-peat, because they took that term from Pat Riley. When Pat Riley was coaching the Lakers, after the Lakers repeated in 1988, he the one who coined that phrase, three-peated, and I think he had that phrase copyrighted or patented or something like that. Oh, yeah, man. That Super Bowl against the Broncos, dog, there hasn't been a quarterback that's done that, man. There's been a lot of tremendous performances. Brady's had great performances. Mahomes had great performances. Congratulations to Jalen Hurts, what he did last night, man. Aaron Rodgers, Terry Bradshaw won for he was the first quarterback to win 4 Super Bowls. Can't forget him. Troy Aikman had great Super Bowls, man. I mean, it's been a lot of great performances in these Super Bowls, man. But on that day, that's the great Super, because I think his quarterback rating was like 147, dog. And in 4 Super Bowls, this is the kicker. This is what makes him the greatest quarterback. In them Super Bowls, man, against them top defenses, dog, Cincinnati Bengals had a great defense. Montana did not throw 1 interception in them Super Bowls, dog. He didn't throw 1 interception, dog. Not one. That's the separator right there. The quarterback rating, the 2 blowouts, the 2 comebacks, and no interceptions, dog. And the degree of difficulty in the competition that he faced and the quarterbacks that he beat. That's the separator, man. That's the separator. And like I said, if it wasn't for the injuries, he missed about 4 or 5 years due to injury. He very well could have had 6 or 7 Super Bowls. You see what I'm saying? That's just me. I just like to break it down, man. You start talking about the greatest ever, and I don't think they're going to be talking about that for a minute, man. They need to let that go. They need to let that go, man. Just let these quarterbacks do what they do. And I would say Jalen Hurts, man, by him winning the Super Bowl, he has to be the best quarterback in the NFL going into next year. That's how you do it, man. And then let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. You know what I'm saying? But no, man, Montana's the standard, dog. Montana's the standard, dog. I'm telling you, man. He just felt like he wasn't gonna be beat. He wasn't gonna be beat. It wasn't even a question, dog. But I just want to break that down, man. Montana, to me, is still the standard, man, for quarterbacks, man. And then, like I said, Brady, if they want to say number 2 or number 3, it's all good, But it's been a lot of, I look at Johnny Unitas, man. He was probably, I'm sure when he retired, he was probably considered the best quarterback. You know what I'm saying? Johnny Unitas. He was, in the modern era, Johnny U. So it's been a lot of great ones, man. It's been a lot of great quarterbacks in this league, man, that has won. But like I said, man, that Super Bowl versus Denver, man, that shit was crazy, dog. That was crazy. But I just want to break that down, man. Like I said, Mahomes, he's lost 2 Super Bowls now, man. And see, the thing about it, man, you can't be perfection, dog. It's just like in the NBA. You can't take a player, especially when he has a losing record in championship play. It don't matter how many he went to. It's about winning. That's better than the guy, man, that's undefeated in championship play, that went to multiple championships and spotted the league 2 championships to go play another sport. It's impossible, dog. It's impossible. It's not even no logic in trying to convince people otherwise. But I just want to break that down. Until next time, this is JB for BTB Behind the Bench.